Talks on the Tide is a series of discussions that ran on the beaches of Wexford in late summer 2025. These talks were a companion piece to the House on the Beach exhibition by artist Nina McGowan that was displayed at Wexford County Council headquarters. The exhibition itself was a series of fire-charred wardrobes stacked to create imposing tall towers that you could walk around. The charring was done to expose the centuries-old carbon wrapped in these common household items. These talks on the Tide addressed different challenges of the ongoing climate emergency, presenting solutions and inviting discussion. A black charred kitchen table surrounded by 6 matching chairs was set up on the beach, and guest speakers were invited to talk to the theme of the day. All talks were chaired by Mary Coakley.
We have a room on the beach, I suppose you would say, with this charred table and chairs. And the idea over the next 4 weeks is we have conversations at beaches, listening to people and, to hear different perspectives on the challenges and the approaches, solutions that we can take either individually or collectively.
Today's talk is at the well-known fishing village of Kilmore Quay, on the small beach to the left of the harbour, looking out to the salty islands, and the sun played ball again as our attention turned to water quality. Frank Burke is the Climate Action Coordinator with Wexford County Council.
I suppose just to give you a sense in the council, what we're trying to do is bring climate and climate change and climate adaptation and elements of it to the table for all the different segments within the council. So we have a climate action steering group and we meet every month.
Colm Ennis, Trinity Biodiversity Officer, was here.
The first college in Ireland, I believe, that has a biodiversity officer. So we're kind of figuring out the role from within the college. But basically I want to promote nature and habitat on campus. We have a lot of grounds around as well.
Dr. Ruth from Trinity College has worked with water quality testing for a long time and has been involved in a number of citizen science projects.
And I also did a lot of citizen science projects there as well. So that was really in trying to involve community groups, environmental groups in different sorts of testing. And that was really amazing because there's nothing stronger than the power of people coming together in their own community to understand what's going on in terms of their water and the river or stream that they walk by every day.
And Nina McGowan, the artist behind the project, was also with us.
So my name's Nina. I'm an artist and I'm a freediver, and I'm an ambassador for the Captain Paul Watson Foundation. Captain Paul Watson was one of the original members of Greenpeace, who took it upon himself to get into the boats and intercept whaling ships.
Mary invited all the speakers to introduce themselves and for those attending to get involved.
My gateway drug into nature was the Dodder River in Dublin. I grew up in Dublin and there was very few green spaces around, but the Dodder was this little greenway before we even knew what greenways were, where it was a little patch of nature right in the middle of a concrete jungle. And I became very passionate about angling, and then I became very passionate about the fish, and then I became very passionate about what the fish need to eat, which includes all the invertebrates in the water, which led me to get more interested in frogs and bugs and all sorts of creatures.
We have people from housing, planning, all the different sections, and we try and impart information, training that's going on. For example, if we go with the water quality, nature-based solutions, we have run training for staff because it's quite a new concept, and I'll tell you, Ruth, and I'm sure more here know far more about it than I, but for example, we work with Law Pro and we've run training sessions for staff. We have special projects and they're designing big projects, and we need to have that as part of the design rather than these gabion baskets and heavy engineering that you can have softer engineering, if you like, and that might improve and slow the flow, if you like.
Just to show everyone just how simple it is. So from tests have to be done in labs, obviously, but this is kind of a good way of citizens being able to get involved with their phone. All they need is their phone, and we have given them a kit, and they'll go out, they'll take a sample, they'll take a GPS on their phone as to where they are, and basically you pull out that little tiny thing on the top there and add about 2 mils of water. We explain it, we explain the whole thing, and then that turns a certain colour, it turns pink, and you line it up against the colours. So it tests for, nitrogen and phosphate. So they're the two biggest pollutants that our rivers are polluted with, because they mainly come from fertiliser and then wastewater treatment plants and things like that.
Soon, the self-proclaimed pond propagandist had everyone talking all things freshwater.
I get slagged off. I'm like called the pond propaganda king, but I really do like to push it because it's a very simple and effective way of increasing nature. When I walk into an area like this, I just think, where's the high tide and could you put a pond up there? It's because it would just... If you plant trees, a row of trees, it takes 20 years for them to become really productive ecosystems, or hedgerows, all brilliant. But if you dig a hole in the ground and put some liner in it, or put some clay that will hold water in it, within days you're going to have whirligig beetles arrive, you're going to have diving beetles arrive, you're going to have mosquito larvae, they'll feed the bats within a couple of weeks. It's almost like an instant ecosystem in the ground. And like I said, 40, 50 years ago, we would have had ponds in most farms before the plastic or the concrete feeding troughs came along.
Can I come in on the pond bit just on that? We have done pond surveys in each of 3 municipal districts at this stage, 23, 24, 25, and we'll plan for the 4th municipal district in 26. But what happens is that data comes back from the consultants and it goes up in the planning system so that they're aware of, because these are not designated, we all know about the SCCs and the NHAs, but these ponds, I agree with you, they're little nuggets in the countryside, they're not known, so they're on our planning system so that at least the planners can make awareness and just highlight, listen to the landowner, you have this pond here, so that can be built in. So that's something that we have been doing in the last 3 years.
When we think of fresh water, we tend to think of rivers and lakes. The smaller water bodies are really essential for the likes of dragonflies, frogs and newts, the less loved creatures of this world, which are really essential. So that was my passion. And over the last number of years, I've been kind of slowly getting a little bit more heartbroken and dejected over how we've been treating our rivers, our lakes, the lack of ponds we have in this country. And like was just said there, it seems that the foot is coming off the gas in regards to the urgency of making real changes that are really going to make a difference.
The big challenge we have, not just with tidy towns, but with council staff who are used to mowing the grass and having everything look neat and tidy, is that whole behavioural change thinking where there's a guy there who always mowed that area and had it looking well as he thought, and now we're asking him to go, listen, can you let that grow wild? And he's, so there's that whole tug of war.
Making this cultural switch happen is a big challenge, but there's plenty of evidence out there that people want to make the effort.
There's amazing groups across the country, like if you look at the Burke Bio Trust, if you go onto their website, you'll see all the work that they're doing is amazing. And then the River Dodder Action Group, like unbelievable work that they're doing. They mind that river. If there's a dump, they'll be on it the next day. They'll clean it up. They get involved in all different types of projects like the water blitz that we did. They understand what the quality of that water and what is impacting it as well in terms of the different urban developments. They've worked with DCU and on the geography, the developments in the area, they know the runoffs, the drainage. So they get a really, really good understanding. And I think it's only a few people involved in it, but they're so proactive about their river.
Farmers want to help. I talk to them all the time. They really do want to help. But also they have to feed their families. So I mean, good incentives to say, look, we'll pay you for that wet corner of your field and just leave it alone, fence it off, and there you go. You have a little habitat, like you say. They're out there. The UK have done it. They've a great program called Ghost Ponds, where they literally found on the old Ordnance Survey maps the old ponds.
The old 6 inch
and they went along and dug them up and recreated the habitats. And the life just came back. Not only the life that I was talking about earlier on, but seeds that were in the seed bed of the pond from 50 years ago that were locally extinct came back. So I mean, there's ways of doing it, and I think everybody should be included. That's what.
If you think about the way farmers were, and I come from a farm in the west, and they were very much there was the McSharry reforms of the 70s, and you know, I'm not that old, but I do remember studying about those. And but you know, they were told increase your furrow, increase your plough, drain your land, and all that drainage has meant we don't have the slowing of the flow. So it's ironic, as I said to Mary Burke from Trinity when she showed me what they were trying to do in a farm in Wexford. I said, all you're doing is really trying to bring the land back to where it was originally, where the ground was falling towards the river, the lower part was the catchment, and that was the overflow, and that held the water. And really, we're trying to revert. So the old people had it right.
I think it's important that we do have these open discussions and start to make some noise. People power is the great thing. South Dublin County Council, there was a big problem with grey water when it rained very heavily coming in off the estates around Dodder Valley. And for years we were talking to them about putting in a filtration system and natural. They did it. They turned half the park into a wetland. It's fantastic. You see the grey water coming in. It smells like your dishwater mixed with your dirty sheets and whatnots, and it comes out crystal clear with tadpoles swimming around in.
All agreed that having talks like this out in our local environment was a much better way to hear about problems and to talk about solutions than to be inside in insulated rooms.
You can see the tides coming in at the moment, so you know the time element is good, because like in an hour our table and chairs will be floating off out into the deep blue. Yeah, it's a good concept.
Do you know, it was great to hear people saying again today, this is such a nice environment to talk in and to meet, because you know, it's so different being in a community centre or maybe a lecture theatre. People are relaxed, they're looking at the sea.
I have to say it's lovely compared to being inside in a community hall.
Yeah, it really is.
You know, okay, you struggle to hear, but you struggle to hear in a community hall because it lashes rain and you're going, what? You know, so I think it's great. Great idea, I have to say.
I think socially, beaches allow us to expand beyond what we normally do. People strip off, they get up to all kinds of things. They'll do things on a beach they don't do in towns where you have to be very bound by kind of rules. So I think it's the ideal place for us to have out of the box thinking.
Therese Maddock is involved in the local beach cleanup, and it is a forensic operation.
Lobster pots that were going to landfill are now, if the bottom of the pot is good, it gets taken out and put into the unit behind the pier for the fishermen to take away. They're delighted with them. Pots that are still in good condition get put there, and the fishermen are delighted. So instead of everything going to landfill, everything now is thought about. We get salmon tags. We got a salmon tag from New Brunswick. We got a Department of Environment tag from Florida. But when you consider the whole planet has 71% ocean, that's huge, you know. And we have to look after it.
The conversations continued, and the tide made its way up the beach. One thing for certain is that gatherings in outdoor spaces like this are a hit with locals.
Yeah.
Because I think people really talk when they're walking, so I really think that's an important one. So if you have, like, say whatever group it is, and you say we're going to go for a walk and we're going to chat about water, you know, water quality, I think it's really important, because I just think people step back and forward with people and drop into conversations and overhear things, and it's informal and it's a really lovely way to communicate with each other.
In all, there are 4 talks in this series that took place on the beaches of Wexford. You will find links to all the talks in the description. The House on the Beach project was a recipient of the Creative Climate Action Fund, an initiative from the Creative Ireland programme. Many thanks to Wexford County Council's Climate Action and Culture teams, staff from Trinity College Dublin, artist Nina McGowan. Check out her work at ninamcgowan.com. This is a Crannog Media production.